Hello everybody, Awesome Dante here. I am developing a military themed server and I'm going to show you what that basically entails. Right here, we're in game right here at my little house here. Basically, I'm going to create a server with the armed forces involved, the Navy, the Army, and the Air Force. There are some armed forces that I'm not going to be including just because of technicalities or gameplay balance. That would be the Coast Guard, the Marine Corps, and other units like that. So we're going to stick with the main three right now. What I have to do is develop a game. I have to develop gameplay mechanics. I have to develop monsters, enemies, and I'm going to be having other people be working on builds, and I'm going to be creating missions that involve those builds and set pieces and whatnot. Hopefully the end result will be a very fun game, but today I'm going to show you what it takes to create weapons, such as guns in this game, and other minor mechanics, as well as what goes into creating an enemy for games like this. So first off, when you spawn in, you're going to be a civilian. Right there it says I'm Air Force Master Sergeant. When you spawn in, you're just going to be a civilian, and you have to choose which branch of the military that you're going to join into. Either Navy, Air Force, or Army. I chose Air Force for testing purposes. What happens is you're going to spawn in, and you're going to choose Air Force, for example, and you're going to start off at the Air Force's first rank. So if I do a command here to demote myself in the Air Force rank, the first rank should be Airman. And when you have a rank, you're going to get a salary every 20 minutes on the server. For Airman, I think it's just 50 bucks in game. As you rank up, you're going to get more and more money until you reach Air Force General of the Air Force, which is, or I'm sorry, General of the Air Force. I have it listed as Air Force General of the Air Force for my ease of use on the back end. That'll pay you up to $600. You can only be in one branch of the military at a time. You cannot be in the Air Force and the Navy. It doesn't work like that in real life. It's not going to work like that in game, even though they're not the same. I just like to keep some things realistic. So, now that we've got that out of the way, I have ranking ladders for the Air Force, I have ranking ladders for the Navy, and the Army put together. I'm probably going to be redoing the structure as I've included enlisted ranks with officer ranks, and in reality that is just not going to happen. You're not going to go from private to, some officer rank in the, like, sergeant, major, or whatever. That's not going to happen, so I'm going to change that around. Anyway, let me get a cut to the chase here. Right now I've created the Beretta 9mm and the M4 carbine, which are both standard issue military weapons. I still have to do more research to determine which branches those apply to, but as far as I know, the Beretta 9mm was for the Army back in the day, and the M4, I believe the M16 was for the Army back in the day, but I'm going to go with the M4 because I believe the M16 is a little bit overpowered as a starter weapon. There is an M4A1 with Army upgrades. In reality, I'm going to have an upgrade for the M4 in-game to the M4A1, and the M16 will come in later because I believe M16 was a fully automatic weapon. I don't want people starting off with fully automatic weapons quite yet. So anyway, on the back end here, we have the weapons. This is going to be... This is how you create a weapon. This is using the Crackshot plugin. You can describe everything about your weapon from its name, Beretta 9mm, to what type it is. The 417 is item ID 417, which is Iron Horse Armor. This is the standard lore that goes on the weapon. Now this is overwritten with Crackshot Plus, another plugin, but this is going to be on the lore when you first spawn it in, just so that there's not, nothing there. You can change the sounds for when you pick up the weapon. It'll be bat takeoff, volume, pitch, and I forget what the last digit is, but it's not that important. The shooting mechanics for the weapon are all down here. I don't want it to be a dual-wielded pistol, so I click false. Cancel left-click and right-click interactions, which means that if you were to try and open a chest while holding this weapon, it wouldn't work. That's for stuff that is kind of hard to nerf, like Crackshot used to be broken in such a way that if you made your guns dies, you'd be able to right-click on sheep and die them and lose your weapon. Potentially a very good weapon, too. So I'm just canceling all interactions with this. So you're not going to be able to open doors with a weapon. You're not going to be able to die sheep with a weapon if the weapon is a die. That's what those do. Delay between shots is how fast you can realistically click the left click button to shoot this. I don't want it to be super semi-automatic because people with auto-clickers will make this into a fully automatic weapon. I don't want to do that. Recoil is actually a mechanic that shoots you backwards just a little bit. You can tell I'm moving backwards. That's the recoil. Projectiles, I only want one bullet coming out of this gun. We're not going to be like Vincent Valentine shooting 3 bullets at a time or anything like that. The projectile type is an arrow, but that is not important with Crackshot Plus because I make the projectile invisible. The projectile speed is how fast the bullet travels. I can't jack that up too high or the bullets actually start to curve upwards, so I leave it at 40. Projectile damage is how much damage this thing does. This is true damage to anything it hits. I believe it's true damage. I'll have to check to make sure. It might have changed. Bullet spread is basically self-explanatory. How much spread there are with the bullets. There's not really that much spread that goes on with these. The bullet spread will be more likely with automatic weapons. It'll be more noticeable. When you shoot the gun, these are the sounds that play. I can actually get rid of some of the redundancy here and just have only one because I'm only needing that one sound. I jack the pitch up to 2 so it's a high pitch because it is a small pistol. Lower pitch weapons are for like shotguns and stuff like that that have bigger payloads. When you sneak or you crouch in the game, this is the mechanics that play off here. You enable it, first of all. No recoil, so if I were to crouch and shoot this weapon, I would not travel backwards at all. Bullet spread is right here. Like, this is when you crouch and you shoot. The bullet spread is even less, so you're more accurate when you crouch. The reload mechanics here, I'm going to be adding an ammo mechanic in here later on. But basically, if you enable this as true, your gun will have a clip size. This is the size of the clip of your weapon. There are multiple types of weapons that you can use. You can use clips, you can use revolver, you can use bolt action. There's a whole bunch of different types here. This is how long it takes for you to reload in ticks, I believe. So 2 seconds to reload. Let me make sure that that's correct. So if I press Q to reload, 1, 2, 3. Okay, so I'll have to figure that out. But basically 2 seconds. This is the sound the gun will make when it's out of ammunition. And the sounds when you reload it. These are all different sounds. It'll cycle through these sounds when you reload. The abilities, this is a reset hit cooldown, which basically means that when you hit a monster, you can hit him again directly afterwards, since there is no cooldown between hits. That's basically what that does. Backstab is what happens when you shoot a monster from the back. You'll get bonus damage, in this case 2, basically 1 heart. Every 2 digits is 1 heart. So 1 heart of damage extra for a backstab. And this is the sound that it makes. The particle effects here, there's particles only on backstab, so if you shoot somebody in the back, there will be a little particle effect for that. And then hit events. When you shoot the air... Oh, shoot. What was hit events? Dang. Alright. Sounds shooter. I'll have to play around with that. I'm not really too sure what that is, but there's a wiki and I can look it up. It's not a big deal. So that is the 9mm in a nutshell. Then there is the Crackshot Plus plugin that adds effects onto this 9mm. So I can turn my projectiles invisible right here. I can add a trail for the projectile, which is the crits. So I can shoot this and boom, you see the trail behind the bullet. That is the crit particle effect, and that is defined right here. There's damage mechanics, no knockback. So basically if I shoot players, mobs, animals, whatever, there will be no knockback to them. If I hit a block, there will be an animation here, so I can shoot a block. Let's pull it up here. And you'll see on each of these blocks there is, like it's being broken. That is just an effect on here, and those go away after some time. Okay. When you reload, this is for like the visual reloading mechanics or projectile, or I'm sorry, dang, what's the word for it? Texture packs. I don't have any texture packs loaded on here right now, so you're not really going to see too much. If I try to reload it, that little animation where I put my arm out, that is the reload animation for it. And that's basically default reload. Held, I can do weapon weight, so if I were to hold this weapon, I would be, let's see, slower than if I wasn't holding weapon at all. You can kind of tell the difference. It's not really noticeable because it's just a pistol. It's more noticeable on the M4 because I'm a lot slower. So that's weapon weights. You can hide attributes on the weapon, so when you hover over it, it's not going to show you unbreaking or anything down there in blue like a normal Minecraft item would. Then you can update the lore, which overrides the lore from regular Crackshot. So this right here is the format for making all of these bars and whatnot, showing the damage, weight, projectile speed, and whatnot. Those are automatically calculated based on values down here, minimum and maximums. These are skins for the texture pack, and your attachment options here. I haven't made too many attachments just yet, so there's not much to go on over there. Anyway, so yeah, all of that is what makes weapons. And it may look a little convoluted, some confusing stuff going on there at first. Once you play around with it for a while, you'll be able to figure out what each thing does. There's a wiki for all of the different modules and stuff. So that is weapons, and now I'm going to show you how to create your first combatant on here. So I have created the enemy private. This right here is the internal name. This is not going to show to any players. This is just for your eyes, so that you can organize stuff however you want it to be. You cannot have two monsters with the same internal name, so they have to be different. Type as Husk. I put this as Husk because Husks do not burn in daylight. I might go back over that and change it to some other monster, but for now, it's good the way it is. This is what's going to show up as the display name. This is what's going to show to your players. So enemy private with a color code of light red. So they'll see light red, enemy private, and then over here will be the level of the monster. And I think I'm going to add some brackets just so it's easier on the eyes. I'm going to do and 7 for the bracket, and E, so light gray for the bracket, yellow for the actual mob level. Let's see, and 7 for the bracket. Beep. So that'll show up in game. This is the health for the monster. 25, which is basically 12.5 hearts. It does a heart and a half of damage for every time it punches you, but it's not going to punch you because it's set to run away from players. That's because it's going to have a ranged weapon. I have commented out the default drops for this. I don't know what I'm going to have these things drop yet, so I'll fill that out later. But you'll have your standard drops here, and then your additional drops per level here. These are the AI mechanics to change the different mechanics for the monster's pathfinding. So you always start off with clear to clear all of the default stuff that is loaded on in Minecraft. Then you set it to flee player so it runs away so that it has some range between the player and itself so it can fire weapons. And then it has random stroll for whenever there is no enemies realistically nearby. So it'll just start walking around randomly, which is good. Target selectors, I only want it to target players. I might have it target other monsters, but for now I believe that these types of enemies are only going to be loaded into missions, and I don't think that there's going to be any monsters inside of the missions themselves, so they don't have to worry about monsters attacking them. I'm going to have other options here, but for now I'm leaving the movement speed at 0.1, so it's pretty slow. It's only a private. It's the basic enemy. And then I have the skills for it. Skills are a whole other section of this plugin, but basically I've written 2 right now. Randomize level and shoot pistol. Randomize level, when it first spawns, I'm going to go ahead and go over to the skill section. Randomize level will shoot off a mechanic that chooses one of 9 skills, and that will basically randomize whether it changes at level to 1, or 2, or 3, or 4, all the way up to 9. When the monster gets to level 10, it'll automatically upgrade its rank to the next rank in its tier. And I haven't made that mechanic yet, so there's no level 10s quite yet. Shoot pistol, I've taken the default projectile mechanic from the forums, and I'm going to play around with that to get it to basically shoot a gun. And I'm going to add conditions and whatnot to make sure that that happens. For now, that's basically it. There will be a lot more going on once I make more mechanics, such as, I think I can do metals, metal, hold on. There we go. I have medals loaded on here that you can get awarded playing the game, all the way up from like the air medal for Air Force to the Medal of Honor, if I can ever fix that text. The medals are going to be pretty hard to get. There's going to be ribbons on there too, but you're going to need some ribbons in order to handle certain weapons or unlock them in your armories. It's going to be pretty fun, but I'll go over that later when mechanics are built. Anyway, you guys have a good one.